The watch year of 2022 belonged to Tudor. Both the Black Bay Pro and the Tudor Pelagos 39 received standing ovations by the watch community. Partly in their shadow stands a bit more budget-friendly release, the Tudor Ranger. The Tudor Ranger is a missed opportunity, and I'll tell you why, but it's also the best in the business in one particular area. Let's go. Alright, I'm Cohen and this is an in-depth review of the Tudor Ranger. I've been wanting to test it for a while and got my hands on it just in time for my yearly deer hunt. Written in the stars, right? YouTube are quite sensitive to graphic content, so I think I'll have to spare you from footage from the actual hunt. I wanted to add the original NATO for the hunting trip, but I wasn't able to get hold of one in time. I'll get back to why I wanted the NATO later. I'll start by putting my caliber measured dimensions and facts up on the screen for you guys. As you can see, it's quite true to its marketed size. Tudor describes this movement as the perfect tool watch movement, robust, and it is. The Ranger was released in 2022 for a reason, to mark the 70th anniversary of the British Greenland expedition. Long story short, the British Greenland expedition was led by Commander James Simpson from 1952 to 1954. His crew was on a scientific mission to carry out information on meteorology, glaciology, physiology and geology. This Tudor Ranger model is not a remake of the watch worn back then, it's a tribute to the expedition itself. The design is, however, based on the traditions of the Oyster Prince models, which accompanied the crew members of the expedition back in the 50s. Tudor brands it as the spirit of a tool watch. But the name Ranger does go way back in Tudor's history books. Its origin is all the way back in 1929, only 3 years after Hans Willdorf registered the Tudor trademark. According to Tudor themselves, no watch was branded a Ranger, but instead added as an extra touch on watch models they saw carried an adventurous appeal. Some of the watches were made specifically for certain markets, like Tudor still do to this day with certain models, like the Prince Date for example. The first Ranger, which carries more or less the design of today, was released in 1965. Looks pretty cool. This 1969 model might be my favourite iteration of the Ranger. I find date windows handy. That's my subjective meaning. It also changed the logo from rose to shield. Beautiful. Tudor also jumped on the trend of 2023 and the 70s. Integrated bracelets. How horrible is this? The Tudor Ranger 2. In 2014, Tudor re-released the Ranger, this time as a 41mm timepiece showing off the Tudor rose, not the shield. I prefer the rose, the details look good, purely subjective of course. I guess Tudor has their reasons for doing what they do. I like to identify them as an almost perfect brand. Tudor are great at building hype and suspense prior to their releases, but it seems it pretty often ends up as some sort of anticlimax. Always a flaw or a nitpicking. The Ranger has a few in my book, and for my 16.5cm wrists. Tudor are, as you probably already know, very vintage inspired, faux patina and printed indexes. Those attributes belong to the past Tudor. But it's not as if they could apply indexes and white gold or remove the faux patina. They have watches carrying all those features, so it's their own, or Rolex's, choice. The Ranger is all brushed, that's awesome, and the design is pretty slick as well. But for this type watch and its marketed function, it is too big. The matte black dial looks pretty worn when I compare it to my Pelagos 39. I'll make a comparison of the two, and I already have lots of thoughts on the P39 shared on my channel, so please like and subscribe. And of course, comment. What 2022 Tudor release was the best, and why? Back to the Ranger dial. It is matte black and has painted indexes, which are greenish. Why? I do not know. And as on the Black Bay 41 shown on the picture, the Ranger also has a lot of dead space on the dial. There is a lot of black. But it is, however, for those symmetry people out there, quite clean and legible. The hands I like, purposeful, a bit shiny and present. Good looking. But again, it is too big, even for bigger wrists. If we are in fact talking of it as a Tudor describes, and I'll say it again, the spirit of the tool watch, it wears big on the wrist as well. I do a lot of hiking, I hunt, and I go splitboarding during the winter. That is why I prefer a NATO. Doing those activities often requires layers of clothing. Bulky watches, especially the ones with bracelets, tend to make the whole experience a bit shit. Sorry. But perhaps they made it in 39mm because they already have a 36mm Black Bay, which in my opinion is within Tudor's top 3 watches. The Black Bay 36 is, by the way, the only watch I carried outdoor on a bracelet and still felt comfortable. I said it before and I'll say it again, it will find its way back to my collection in the future, I'm sure. Save the positive and best for last. The good thing about the Ranger is that it's a budget-friendly, relatively speaking, sports watch. It does have a superb quality feeling to it. And it does have Tudor's very best bracelet. The T-fit has become a default for Tudor's later sports models, but a lot of them include Tudor's main critiques. Faux rivets on the Black Bay line and huge clasp on the Pelagos 39. The Ranger has neither. The bracelet is perfect, it's Rolex quality and it's practical. Put this on every Tudor, please. Anyway, that's it for the Ranger. I'll be back with a few unboxings, 2 watches on the way. Have a nice week, watch fam.